Back to the Twitch chat. Random Q&A for a few minutes. Go. Do we have any numbers on retention difference between now and Kickstarter that I'd be willing to share? It's really hard to not be comparing apples to oranges because there's such a selection bias in the input funnel. Like, right now, I think people who buy the game on Steam, the group that I could compare them most to are people who bought the game on Kickstarter. And people who bought it on Kickstarter, yeah, their retention curve kind of sucked, but there were a few key moments, especially when like those streamers, like Hearthstone streamers, Crip and all them were playing, that people were very excited about the game and sticking around. But like we also gave away a lot of keys during and after Kickstarter, and many of those people did not stick around for very long at all. But I don't know, like that type of data. I'm not the type of person who does my analytics with a lot of pretty graphs and shit like that. I'm often staring at tables of numbers and grepping through logs and, just computing stats. So it's not the type of thing that we can share very easily publicly anyway. I don't know. I used to like blog about those types of stats a lot, and nowadays I don't as much because I just don't have time. Target date for the balance patch new units. Honestly, like, we don't know. It's how long it takes. We've done these balance patches many times before, and sometimes there's like one unit that we're just like, oh, what the fuck are we gonna do with this unit? Like say it's Lucina. We're like, oh, okay, we're gonna nerf Lucina, we're gonna do this nerf. And then we test it and the unit just sucks. And we're like, oh, well, let's try a different nerf. We test it and the unit just sucks. And, sometimes we're just like, okay, whatever, we'll pick one and ship it. But usually we want to get it right. And especially with buffs, we want to be very careful. Because if we overbuff something, that is really awful. What unit change will we least expect? I think most of the changes will be somewhat expected. We're not trying to do radical things. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to buff and nerf a unit in a really weird, subtle way or add new click abilities. It's really a balance patch. We're actually very happy with the design of almost all the units in Prismata in terms of how they function, how they feel. In terms of some being too strong or too weak, some being too good for player 1 or player 2, those are still things we're addressing. People often talk about some units like Apollo or Deadeye or Wild Drone, that are like, they just warp games in such a strong way, or Savior even. And those are the type of units that I think, like, if we did a Season 2, they would rotate out. And be replaced by some new set of more dramatic units. But that's not even necessarily true. And we don't necessarily want to change units just because they're strongly influential or dramatic units. Let's see. The chat's scrolling so fast. Will paid key owners still have something extra compared to the free giveaway keys? Yes, of course. The idea is the paid key owners should all have access to the DLC, which is going to be Chapter 2 and onwards, for free, or not for free, included with the purchase. If you get a free key, you're just getting the base game, like the free-to-play version. What's my favorite color in game, and what is my favorite color IRL? When I was a kid, I always said red was my favorite color. I don't think I ever had a reason. Is my favorite color red in game? I don't think I have a favorite color in game. I don't know. I think my favorite color in-game has gone between all three of them, and it really just depends on how I'm feeling or whatever. Do 99% of games in Prismata end with concession rather than elimination? There's actually a surprising number of games that end with elimination. I think it's just kind of like a manner thing between the players, where if you get like super low on units and it's super close, often players just let each other eliminate each other. I can probably get that number for you, but I don't know it offhand. Why have a big balance patch after early access release instead of before, after so long without one in beta? Well, adding new units to the game really shakes up the meta, and we didn't want to add new units until we were in early access, and so we thought that adding new units at the same time as the balance patch would be correct, because Like, especially players who are playing in tournaments who are serious about the game. Like, we don't want them to have to feel like they're constantly relearning shit. So we're coalescing it into one patch instead. Something about Giselle in Chapter 2. I am not doing any spoilers related to campaign story, but you are welcome to speculate in our Discord, where we do have a campaign spoiler section. How big is the upcoming balance patch? I don't know. It's about like 4 inches. 4 inches and maybe 500 milliliters. Thoughts on Life Coach's comments about the time controls? Like, I think if Life Coach plays 90 seconds and has good games play in 90 seconds, then that's fine. Like, there are some people who mostly queue Blitz, and, you know, should we have a competitive mode that has no time limit? No, it would be stupid. Should we have a competitive mode that's like a 5-minute mode? I think the problem is that once you got very experienced at the game, only the newer players would be taking a long time. Because I think Life Coach, like, when I was at Life Coach's phase of learning the game, which is like, you know, I was super into the game, but I had been playing for like less than a month. I was in the same way that he was, taking a long time. And I got over it by playing more and getting more experience with the game. And I don't think that a high-ranking player should ever permanently be in a situation where they feel that 90 seconds is not enough time. I think it's mostly a matter of learning the game and learning the sort of rote patterns needed to play faster. And I understand Life Coach is a slow and methodical guy, and he likes to think a lot. But I think that even somebody like Life Coach will learn and develop the skills required to automate some of the decision making, especially in the early turns and the calculation of attack and defense. And once that gets automated, you can play in a way where you accumulate lots and lots of time bank if you're playing 90 seconds, so that you do have the time where if you want to sit there and think deeply on those difficult turns, you can do it. 2 years of balance patches without the AI breaking. Oh, the AI did break once, and it was all my fault. It was because we added HTML formatted colored text for some of the units, and somehow the AI, like, even though it's supposed to completely ignore it, was like reading some of the settings of the colored info panel text and crashing because it couldn't process like angle brackets or some shit in only the web version of Prismata. So, but the AI itself, I don't think it has ever really had a problem with new units that we added. Are there resources for new players to get over the initial wall after playing the campaign and training missions? Well, the main thing is the bots. Especially in casual match, you can just play, you know, there's 25 or 30 different types of bots that you can play against. And those bots have been programmed to teach casual players all the stuff they know in order to play a good game on the ladder. Like, those bots do shit. They rush you. They go big econ. They, you know, they know how to use most of the units in the game fairly well. So if you want to learn to play Prismata well, you should learn to beat all those different bots. And if you can master sort of all of those bots, you're definitely ready for ranked. People who can beat Masterbot regularly, 100% they're good enough for ranked. I mean, even if you can just beat Masterbot some of the time, then you're going to find good opponents in ranked, and you're not going to get crushed every game. You think time bank gain should increase? Time bank gain, yeah, it's been 25%. There was a time in the past where it was 33%, and we found that in many time controls we were just accumulating too much time bank, and we decreased it to 25. It's an accessibility issue. Like, yeah, I understand that. I understand that there are people who don't want to play with a time control. But if you're playing on a competitive ladder where your opponent could just, like, you know, stand up and leave, you know, not having time controls facilitates a lot of sort of forms of abuse that are not good. And we don't have the resources to individually deal with people reporting. And, like, it's... It's better for us to design the game in a way that the games finish themselves promptly. You know, I think another concern is, it's just like, you know, say you are playing a legit game. How long is too long? Like, are you allowed to take like an hour on a turn? Like, you know, if your opponent goes, are you even there? Like, you know, what if you don't answer? And okay, so maybe we don't want people to take an hour a turn. Well, should we put a limit on it? Like, should it be 5 minutes? Like, you know, what if somebody decides they don't even want to think, they just want to like go grab a coffee? Like, does it turn into a correspondence game? Like, you know, I would prefer that option exist for people to play casually with their friends, which it does. But for ranked competitive modes, I feel all games should be timed in a competitive strategy game. Time to shake up the meta. 4 inches and 500 milliliters. Blitz ladder plans. Blitz ladder is something that has been requested many times, just for people to have separate blitz ratings. I want to do it. Is it at the top of my priority list? No. Is it going to happen before we do like free-to-play or free-to-play weekend? Not sure. Right now, the number of players that like really want to ladder blitz is not that high. Like, it's probably like a couple of dozen at most. So like, yes, it's a feature that I want to add. Like, I personally want it because I like playing blitz, but I'm shit at it. So whenever I play blitz, my rating tanks. I mean, today I had a good run, but usually I'm garbage at blitz. So yes, I want that feature. Am I going to add it really soon? No, it's just not high enough on the priority list, and it doesn't benefit enough people. Right now, we're really focusing on features that benefit new users, people that are just starting to play or just learning, you know. But yes, I want to do it. Discord reactions, yeah. Twitch chat is not quite Discord. Longer competitive mode with integrated analyze mode and game tree controls. I mean, yeah, we could do something like that. We had correspondence games, which were basically infinite time controls, or like 1 day per move or something. Like, it worked. It was in the software. People could use it. And, you know, like Shalev was the only person who ever used it. I feel like Shalev and Life Coach would enjoy having really long games together. And we could add it back. It just, you know, it was a feature that we cut because nobody really liked it a lot. But I don't know. Yeah, it's an option. Just adopt the UX for time controls of literally every chess and Go server. You seek with a time control range. You match with the, I mean, that's kind of what we do. I mean, our grid that we have in the battle mode selector is basically the same as a range. You know, so I'm not sure what you are suggesting. You just mean we should add more time controls? We should add like a 180-second queue or something like that? I mean, we could. We could just add more queues. There's no reason not to add more queues other than like it does like fracture the player base. I feel like if we added a 180-second queue, then there'd be very little action on it. But we could. Excuse me. Masterbot doesn't understand colors. I don't know what you mean by that. The addiction is getting to the next game. I think it's like, well, like, let me put it this way. If I was only allowed to have one-time mode in Prismata, then yes, we could talk about like, oh, what's the optimal potato chip duration of a game? And, you know, people who make games like Clash Royale and Hearthstone, they do somewhat think of that. They talk about game duration as a thing that they want to tightly control in order to achieve a certain playing experience for their players. We like to allow players to play what they want. So, you know, under that philosophy, sure, I could just add more time controls. But you know, realistically, 90 seconds is not terribly popular. So adding even longer time controls seems, I don't know, like it's not been requested a lot. But if everybody wants it, we'll add it. You know, if there's a thread on Reddit tomorrow, this is, you know, add such and such time control. We really want it, and it gets like, you know, 2,000 upvotes, and I'll be like, okay, fine, we'll just add it. Like, we could add it very quickly. Yeah, there are some games where correspondence is the primary mode. You know, a lot of abstract strategy games are traditionally played in correspondence modes. I don't know. But I think Prismata is... Like, people have this blitz chess mentality where, like, you know, a lot of people play chess online, but blitz is by far the most popular mode, and just faster seems more exciting, and people want to get in more games, and, you know. Any specific technical issues that make me nervous for Free Weekend? No, just that we haven't done it before. I do feel that there are still some, like, user experience issues. You know, there are legit bugs, like those little pop-ups with Giselle in them that say, oh, hey, hello, welcome, Commander, you're supposed to do this. Like, we know of some bugs in their behavior, and like those types of things I really want to fix before we do a Free Weekend, for example. But in terms of, like, can our servers not scale enough? I mean, we did some testing, but who knows? Like, Free Weekends can be crazy. You know, you can get tens of thousands of users, and at that point, like, you know, our tests may no longer replicate what's really happening in reality. Like, it's you can never be 100% sure until you actually do it. Hearthstone beta tournaments matches had no enforced turn timer. It was terrible. Players regularly took 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, yeah, I believe you. Where's the Discord? It's discord.gg/Prismata. Somebody probably linked it already. And they did. Separate ladders for each set. Yeah, well, a lot of those Chess and Go servers where, like, you get matched and then you, like, have to sit to a table and, like, pick what you want to do and then press OK. Like, that extra step to me seems irritating. But it's born out of this sort of traditional board gaming view of gameplay where it's more like, oh, you're finding a partner and then you're sitting at a table and then you're getting set up and then you're playing. Whereas, you know, as a video game product, we want to streamline that, and you know, and that's what our audience expects, right? They expect to click match and then go into a game and play. They don't expect to have to, like, sit at a table, and, you know, that feels very 2002 or something. Total game timer. Yeah, we tried it. Trust me, we tried every clock imaginable. The current main time plus time bank plus increment was what we came to after much experimentation, and it has so many good features. Like, it encourages you to play fast because you get to build up time. It allows you to spend a really long time, like sometimes many minutes, on, like, a specific key turn where you have a hard decision to make. You know, I think it's a really good system. I think it is the best time system that you can have for a game like ours. And it's like, it's not hard for people to understand. It doesn't really confuse people, even new players. They just, like, you know, they see that their time's running out and then they're okay with it. And then later when they read the help or whatever, they understand the details and it's just clear. Like, I'm very happy with the current timer system. You think Lunark shouldn't spend one day to have separate ratings, even though it's a little better? I mean, yeah, there's so many things we could do in one day that would improve the product. You know, separate ratings, maybe it would take less than a day, I don't even know. But, you know, I'm trying to focus. Like, right now, my number one thing is just grow the audience of the product, give away lots of keys. You know, I'll probably do an Ask Me Anything thread on Reddit sometime. Just you know, try and build more hype about the game. We're still getting a lot of, like, reviews coming in the news. Not all of them are English speaking, but, like, you know, there are people finding about the game every day and telling us great things about it. I've had who was it? It was the head of data for one of the biggest video game companies in the world contacted me, the head of their data science group, and he told me that his whole department's addicted to Prismata and they fucking love it. You know, like, like I'm hearing so many good things about the game. It's definitely growing. It's definitely reaching new people. It's just like I want to amplify that shit as much as possible. For the X less than 100 people affected, they should just use a Blitz Smurf. I mean, yes, I guess so. Well, a lot of people have been doing that already. We don't officially endorse it, but we also don't officially condemn it. Some people with Smurfs have asked us to remove their second name from the leaderboard because we don't want, you know, we want the top 100 to be 100 unique people, ideally. Let's see. Both of your classes at university, most people have keys and have played, and now they want you to give a talk about the Prismata AI. Prismata AI is a fascinating thing. I'm sure anybody who plays Prismata would love to hear how it works. Are we planning regular unit drops during early access? How often? Yeah, I think sort of. So early access will have 4 major updates, which are chapters 2, 3, 4, 5, and ideally in between each of those we'll have a minor update, which will have some units. And whatever balance changes are needed. Maybe even more than that, because we actually have quite a few units to give out. I don't know. Honestly, it's very undecided. Like, a lot of these new units, like, we don't even have art for. Like, the units for next week, we have art for. They're ready, they're done. But, like, the units for next month, like, we gotta send out the art. I'm probably gonna send out the art late this week, early next week. Like, you know. When I say send out the art, I mean like contact the contractors that draw the units and give them instructions and blah blah blah. There's a really interesting idea in Crash's chat, the Grandmaster set. Bring it back, but after a certain time, nerf the unit/strategy that's winning incrementally, till you can create an extremely balanced set. I mean, maybe that sounds like it could be interesting. There's so many game modes in Prismata that are interesting. Prismata seems to be a game where whatever game mode you try, there is probably a version of it that's really cool, just because the base game has all this depth and adaptability. So, you know, it would probably be interesting. Like, the thing is, we found that people didn't like playing the same set over and over again. You know, they didn't want to just, like, study the same units and openings and try to memorize them. 4th color, ha 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 ha. No, 4th color is for Prismata 2. That's not happening in Prismata. Will we move away from Adobe Air? Not in the short term. Like, you know, we've looked at all of the alternatives, but right now, like, we actually don't have any serious problems with Adobe Air. The only thing is that we can't compile a good desktop version for Linux. And, like, that breaks my heart. It makes me sad. But realistically, it's not something that we're going to change engines for, because we just don't have the manpower to go through a port. And we can port to mobile, and we have done so, and it doesn't seem to be that awful. You know, maybe when we do a mobile port and we discover Adobe Airport on mobile is garbage, we could fix it. But, like, right now we're relatively happy with the quality of the game. You know, maybe if web turns out to be huge, then we'll have to have an HTML5 build, because, you know, Flash is just not going to be around forever, but we'll see. Yes, there is a recorded version of Dave's talk about the AI. It's balance patch, messing with mission design at all. Ha, 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 ha. Funny you say that. How shall I explain this? There are some units that are very commonly used in missions. We try not to buff or nerf those much. And I think for the most part, the units that we're going to be making changes to are not units that are used in a lot of the single-player missions or puzzles or something like that. You know, Lucina's Rage aside. Anyways. But, like, say we do a minor change, like, I don't know, say we wanted to, like, change Tantalum Ray, change how many times you could click it, or change its HP, or something like that. You know, like, I think there might be a mission or two that has Tantalum Ray in it, but it's just like a purchasable unit in the buy box, and it's not going to affect the difficulty of that mission, really. Now, if there's a puzzle mission that uses Tantalum Ray and relied on it being clicked a few times, then we have a couple of options. One is we can just make it use the old Tantalum Ray, or start with the old amount of HP or whatever. And we're not completely opposed to doing that. But often we can make a change to a mission that takes like less than 10 minutes to make, that just preserves the original puzzle and is not a problem. Generally speaking, like I thought, say a year ago, that balance patches and mission design would run into each other a lot and be an annoying difficulty that we would struggle with. And I ended up realizing that like the cost of just like remaking a mission if a balance patch ruins it is actually very low, because almost always you can just make a small change and it'll just fix it. Anyways, but maybe there are some counterexamples. Is turn 24-5 overkill the most optimal solution to the expert challenge the last campaign mission? I do not know. Like, the Prismata community is probably the expert on that, not the developer at this point. Sorry, I'm just scrolling up to see previous missions. Would a neural network approach have potential applications to the AI? Yes, absolutely. I know you're asking Dave, but the answer is, like, I've always had a thought that for specifically like tech selection or just purchasing selection in general, I think some kind of policy network could help a lot. And yes, for the evaluation function, you could use a neural network for that as well. But how exactly do you build that neural network? That's a difficult question. But I think it is something that would be a reasonable approach to try. Next year, Prismata Game of the Year. In 2 years, Prismata 2. Man, I can't imagine making Prismata 2 in like 2019. Not because I don't love Prismata, but just because like I feel like there's so many other games I want to work on. I've heard that indies don't make enough sequels. I've heard that this is a problem that plagues our genre and our and it's because like sequels are often guaranteed money makers, and so if Prismata is a big money maker, then Prismata 2 would obviously do well. In many cases, video game sequels do better than the original. So if my goal is to just grow Lunark as much as possible, then Prismata 2 is probably the way to do it if Prismata does really well. But at the same time, I have so many other things that I want to work on. Lunark can be a company that makes multiple games as well. Doesn't have to just be Prismata. It can be many games at the same time. We can hire people to work on Prismata 2, and I can make something else and just advise on Prismata 2. There's so many different ways it can go. Let's see. Variable prices of units, in the sense that if set a massive amount of triple blue set, you would nerf big blue, so the other strategies. How hard would the algorithm be to implement? It's nearly impossible. Like, you could implement some heuristic bullshit that would do a half-decent job sometimes, but not be perfect. If you want it to actually be good and be automated, then you need to write an AI that can play Prismata well. Because, like, determining which strategy is OP is basically as hard as playing Prismata well. So, we do have an AI that plays Prismata decently, and so we could probably use that to make that judgment. Tantalum getting nerfed. I just said that as an example. I have neither confirmed nor denied a Tantalum nerf. It's definitely on our candidate list of things we have considered nerfing. But we're also okay with keeping it as is. I think we just need to make up our mind on that one. Yeah, Dave brings up some very valid concerns about using neural networks in practice, because you don't want to have a giant-ass dictionary of dictionary is the wrong word, but a giant-ass sort of a library of like training weights. What did he say? Huge file sizes. Yeah, basically that. Like, and retraining is a pain. Even just using the old version of the unit is acceptable. Yeah, like the AI doesn't learn, right? And this is something we've tried to make clear, and Dave always repeats over and over and over again. Our AI is not a learning AI. it's designed to be super robust and flexible so that we can give it new units and it just automatically plays well with it. That's the goal. Love to see an AlphaZero style AI play Prismata. Oh, I would too. Trust me. Prismata 2, Prismoba. Sequel is a cash grab. I mean, I don't know. Like, I could definitely make a Prismata game that was much more of a cash grab than the current product. You know, but my goal as a game developer is to make the game I want to play, right? And the game I want to play is not necessarily a cash grab. Prismata AI API. Yeah, we should talk about that. I'm very interested in doing that. Prismata 2 would make me really sad. Yeah, it's sort of like what the fuck is League of Legends 2? Like, would that ever happen? I mean, maybe it would. But maybe Prismata itself just grows and builds upon its own success. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Prismata trading card game. Oh, you guys are funny. Oh, yes. I remember this. Dave doing the neural network experiment to try and predict who would win. And it got it right like 53% of the time. Yeah. My brother actually tried to write a very basic reinforcement learning algorithm to just get the build orders right for one specific Grandmaster set. So he wouldn't like train it on all sets of Prismata units. He would train it for hours on just like one set of like base plus 8 or whatever. And it did okay just on that. But in general, you obviously can't do that for every set in the game, and you can't run the training every time the bot needs to think of what its next move is. So it's not really a viable approach. Cool if MasterBot could learn from good players winning against it. Like, we could do this sort of basic form of parameter tuning where MasterBot tries to optimize its behavior and performance based on not really learning, but just kind of like taking samples in the form of playing games. But it can also do that through self-play. It's tricky to learn through playing humans because the question is like, you know, you can't just treat the human as a good player and try to copy it, because humans also make mistakes and you don't want the AI to copy the mistakes, right? You have to be a bit nuanced. You are already playing League of Legends 2. I mean, yeah, that's the point. And yes, Dave has a student working on reinforcement learning in Prismata. I'm very excited about that. Off-policy learning is hard. Yes. Yes. I actually met some DeepMind people who were at GDC. They're trying to hire a shit ton of game developers, and not just AI people. They're trying to hire like everybody. I don't know. They're doing some crazy shit down there. They tried to recruit my ass, and I'm like, ha. You guys think I have time to work on games AI research? Oh, in another lifetime, maybe. In another lifetime. I don't know. On that note, I think I'm going to cut the Q&A. Thank you all for joining me on the show. Until next time, I'm Elliot, and I think the next show I'll do another playthrough of some campaign missions and developer commentary, and that'll be fun. But until next time, see you later.